welcome back to Scream Queen Stream. Y'all know me, I'm Jessica Cameron. If you do not know the lovely lady who is next to me, then allow me to introduce you to the one and only incomparable Miss Sadie Katz.
Hi. That's a really great intro. I love that. And could you follow me around and introduce me like that to everyone? I would love that.
Don't tempt me, because I definitely could.
Thank you for having me.
It's an absolute honor. So you guys who are watching this are probably most familiar with her genre work, from which everything expands starting in 2005. But I think you're probably most notably known for Wrong Turn 6, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, number 6. Yes.
Like the one that got banned, which we'll get to.
Oh, I love you. She's done her research.
Oh, yeah.
Great.
And that's also like a fascinating like indie film lesson for everyone, which is why it's so important to talk about. And something that also, because it was, well, we'll get to that in a minute. I want to find out because, quite frankly, when I was doing my research on you, I couldn't find hardly anything on how you got your start. Obviously, your IMDb goes back to 2005.
Yeah.
But I couldn't find any of the details on what made you want to be an actress, what caused you to want to get into filmmaking itself, because also she's a talented screenwriter, producer, and director.
I take all these compliments right now.
Please. So let's start at the very beginning. What made you want to get into film? And did you want to be an actor, or did you want to do behind the scenes?
That's a great question. Okay, so I wanted to get into acting always because I always did theater growing up. I'm from Orange County, and so I did plays, and I was writing scripts on. When I was like in 5th grade, my mom had this big green typewriter that was missing the E button. So I would like clack away and write a play and have to like write in the E stop. And, you know, like this is obviously before having a computer, which I'm giving away my age. But so I always wanted to act, but I thought it would be in theater. And then I grew up a Jehovah's Witness.
What? Really?
I know. Yeah.
That's amazing.
You wouldn't know it now. So I was not, you know, as a Jehovah's Witness, you're not supposed to be like part of the world or whatever. So it wasn't until I left that church and stopped believing in it that, I know, right? I'm like, that I then pursued. So my son was a year old or 9 months old, and then I left the church. The church kicked me out.
Why did you get kicked out? Is it because you weren't wearing shoes?
Probably. No, I actually got kicked out because I was married. I got married. I was a virgin. We were both virgins. And I wasn't a good wife, and I didn't want to be a wife anymore because I was only 19 when I got married. And I cheated on my husband. Like at 23, but if that was kind of like a gateway to he passed away too last year, so it's very sad.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I know. I'm sad for my son, but I knew that I didn't want to raise my son into the church, so I kind of, you know, skedaddled. And there's things when you're a Jehovah's Witness that you're not allowed to do. So when I moved to LA to pursue, like, that's what I was like, I get to, oh my God, I'm not in this conservative religion and I can do whatever I want. It was literally like getting to live my life all over again. So I took this, now this is crazy, I took my son, didn't really have a lot of support or friends. I had an aunt that was basically at my aunt and uncle who live in Temecula. But I didn't know anyone. I just moved to LA and was like, I'm going to pursue acting and pursue my dreams.
That's amazing. So you did so with a baby.
With a 1-year-old. Like now I'm like, what were you thinking? But yeah, I moved to Van Nuys with my son. Well, that's another thing. What was I thinking moving to Van Nuys? But that was an accident. I didn't know LA. And the rent was cheap. But I moved and was like, I was in an acting class because I had done college theater and had won some awards and done some things like that. So, I mean, I won, like, I did speech in high school, like dramatic interp, and I was like second in I was first in California and then second in the nation for like very like crazy. I played like a teenage prostitute or something, like doing these monologues. So anyway, then when I moved, I moved with my son, which is totally crazy and something that you could only do if you're 23 and don't realize like how huge
how
that is.
big of a deal that is, and how difficult it could be, or what could go wrong.
Yeah. And so it took a while, like, that's why it took, like, when I really started working is when Griffin started, my son, started he had started, like, he got older. He was, like, in 5th grade. And so then I was, like, I could actually, like, not need a babysitter all the time. So.
Yeah, because he's in school at least.
Yeah. And and what was crazy is I would sometimes, like, I was doing play at theater in LA first, and I would lie and say that my babysitter canceled and bring Griffin when he was like 3 years old, and then they would be like, he's so well behaved, what, don't pay for a babysitter because you're not making any money doing this play. And Griffin would, like, be asleep in the back row while I'm doing like a World War II drama, and then I would carry him to the car, and it's very crazy when I think of it now. I'm like, that was a really insane thing to do. But
even leaving the church, I'm so, forgive my ignorance, I am not the most knowledgeable when it comes to Jehovah's Witness as a religion, but it's a pretty engulfing religion, right? Like, they kind of take over your entire life.
They take over. Every decision is kind of based on, so I won't say every decision you make is sort of like, you can't wear a skirt above your knees, you can't wear spaghetti strap. It's modest dress and grooming. You couldn't, like, dye your hair a crazy color or be overly trendy. I remember once, it was so crazy that I always dressed very modestly, and I wore a skirt that went to my ankles, and that was like a trend, I don't know, in the 90s or something. And I remember I got in trouble because the skirt was too long, because it was like overly trendy. Like, you couldn't win. And you can't watch rated R movies. You don't celebrate holidays. College is kind of frowned upon. And actually, if I, like, met you and we got along well, you would not be my friend. Like, you only can be friends with Jehovah's Witnesses. So
it's kind of like that Scientology thing where they try to keep you all very self-contained.
You're
and surrounded by people that push the narrative of the church that they're wanting you to, like, worship.
Yeah, and I mean, you can't pursue things, like, you wouldn't pursue anything that wasn't about the religion or about preaching, so that's your priority. And you can't be alone in a room with a man that's not your husband or a family member. So you wouldn't, like, be alone with a man. It's very,
Now, your husband, so is it an arranged marriage situation?
No, you just marry someone in the church. And what's funny
they all kind of encourage this.
Because you can't have sex before marriage, and you don't really date somebody unless it's your view to get married.
Okay. So when you were, like, 18, dating the man who would become your husband,
he was my best friend.
Okay.
We were best friends since I was like 15.
Oh, okay.
And then by the time I graduated high school, I knew I was going to date him, but we had kind of liked each other for 3 years, and then started dating when I graduated high school, and then got engaged a year later, we got engaged a year later, and then I got married, and at 19 years old.
I think about what I was doing at 19. I had moved to Toronto, and I was, like, in college, and I just, like, boggles my mind that you were married and going to have a kid around that same time.
At 23, I got pregnant.
Okay, so 23.
Like, I had a really hard, like, right after I got married, I had, like, a complete meltdown, and didn't really know what I was doing. It took several years, and then at 23, after I had my son, because you can't have blood transfusions, my son was cesarean, and so I basically, when I was having him, I signed away, like, I will not have a blood transfusion.
So they would
if
rather...
my son dies, I don't hold the hospital responsible. We can do fake blood treatments.
So, like, they'd rather have you or your son die than do a blood transfusion?
Yes, so that was a huge turning point for me, because I'm driving my son home from the hospital, and Jehovah's Witnesses carry blood cards. They're like little index cards, like small things that's the size of like a driver's license, that you put next to your driver's license, that in the event of an accident or something crazy happening, that it says, "Do not give me blood." This is a religious thing. It's a legal document, and you carry it for your kid as well, which is nuts. So
I can't believe that's legal. Not to be offensive to Jehovah's Witnesses. It boggles my mind, especially that I don't believe that anyone should be able to take that right away from a child. If you're a grown up and you've made that choice for you, then I guess that's your choice.
I agree.
But to take that right away from a child that could lose their life is just shocking to me that it's legal.
Well, and I knew someone that the wife died in pregnancy, and she needed a blood transfusion, and so like her baby was born, but she died. I mean, everyone knew somebody who died,
of course,
and they were like kind of a hero. So when I'm driving home from the hospital, my son's in his car seat, and I'm in the back seat with him, and I was like, just everything in me just went, I said to my husband, give me your blood card. Give me my blood card. And I was tearing it up. I'm going to cry. I was tearing it up, and I threw it out the window. And I was like, I don't give a fuck. Like, there's no, like, if he needs a blood transfusion, then I guess I won't live forever in paradise, which is what you think when you're a Jehovah's Witness. Because I'm like, this is my job to protect this kid, and how could I ever not do that? So that was the first thing. And then some other stuff happened with like different changes of beliefs with Jehovah's Witnesses. And I was like, oh my God. Like, I remember the exact moment at a convention. Jehovah's Witnesses have conventions with thousands of people. They were changing, because they say like the truth gets brighter and stuff. They were changing a very core belief. And I just like, it hit me. I was like, oh my God, this religion's a lie. Like, and then I looked around, and the thing that I knew is nobody was questioning the change. So no one was like, oh, that really changes a lot about what we believe, our belief system.
And like everything we have believed since the dawning of time.
Yeah, and so I was looking around, and I was like, why isn't anyone upset about this? And then it was lunchtime, and I was like, no one's gonna say like, that's really crazy. And everyone was like, shh, you don't want to be an apostate. And I cried and was like, I need to get out of here right now. And then, then I ended up I was going to school and doing a play, and I met somebody, and, we had sex. I came home and said, I'm out. Like, I just did this. I'm going to keep doing that. I need to make love. I need to have a life. I want out, and I want my son out. I think at first I was okay with him still going to he was okay with going to the Kingdom Hall with his dad or whatever, but my son never fell for anything. Like, he's an atheist. Like, he's even worse. He's like 4 years old. Like, they're really, they make a lot of cheesy jokes, Mom. Like, yeah. So, I mean, so think of who I was, though, coming to LA, never being alone with any men or anything. You want to put like, hey, take advantage of me. Hey, I don't know what I'm doing. And
I'm just giving you shit about why you haven't made this into a movie or like a book.
I'm going to. I mean, my son and I moved 19 times. He's 18 now, and he's, a model and an artist. He's an artist, and he lives in LA. But we moved a lot. And part of it was like, I never got a chance to like settle, because everything was just like new. Every friend I met, you're meeting friends who already have some friend groups, you're still in LA, but everything was like, I hadn't even really gone to bars. I remember the first time I went into Ross. Okay, so I go into Ross, and I just stood there for a second and looked around. I was like, I don't know what I wear. How do I dress? Like, what do I like to wear?
When it's not being governed.
Yeah. And I remember the first time I wore like a tank top and I didn't wear a bra. I was like, oh my God, this is great. Like, everyone must know. And like, I have a mini skirt on. This is like, it's a thing.
So do you still have family that's a part of the church?
My family wasn't in the church. That was like my rebellion, which is crazy. I know.
Oh, so how old did you join the church?
I was like 12. I know.
That's insane.
My mom believed it, but she didn't want to practice it. My mom's kind of nutty. And so she was like, yeah, that's the true religion. And as a kid, you're like, yeah, that's the true religion. And there's a lot of things Jehovah's Witnesses teach that if you're into the Bible, you're like, well, this is the only religion that doesn't celebrate holidays. And most of the holidays are pagan. If you celebrate Christmas, it's a pagan thing. If Easter is super pagan. So there's stuff that you're like, okay. And I was super A-type and wanted to be the best and, do everything right. And so, yeah. And then I got baptized at 15. And, I mean, I also was a vegetarian. Like, I had to do everything to be this kind person. That's why now I'm like, I give no fucks. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I already left an entire religion that banned me. Like,
oh my word.
Yeah, so.
Okay, so we get to LA.
Right.
And you start waitressing.
Well, I'm cocktail waitressing, of course, because I went to the Victory Theater in Burbank, which is really great and teaches Meisner. I originally studied at Cypress College with Mark Majarian, who's a big mentor of mine, which was the Eric Morris method. So I'm like pretty method. I'm really into acting. I always was in, but now I'm really into it. And so now I need a job that's going to support me, pursuing acting. So I get a job at 7969. This is like all the crazy things I did, where it was a tranny bar. Okay. And so I went from being a Jehovah's Witness to working at a tranny bar. And they did multiple. Oh, bless you.
Thank you.
Coronavirus.
Right.
It was drag queen night one night, tranny bar another night, Russian night, which everyone thought I was Russian, and like rock and roll night. Like, Danny would have loved it. Yeah. Girls swinging from these metal ropes and heavy bands coming. And that was, like, I was absolutely enamored by everything. Like, the one cool thing about it was I was, like, a little, like, if we just had a night where, like, we bought lotto tickets and had some beers, I always was like, oh my God, that was the funnest night ever. Like, everything was cool. Everything was new. Everything. Amazing. Yeah. So, I mean, like, I was crazy about Christmas. I'm still pretty crazy, but I got to celebrate Christmas. I'm putting up a tree. Like, it was really, everything was exciting. I got to date, and I could date anyone. You're a Jehovah's Witness. You only know, like, I knew a lot of people because I was a pretty well-known Jehovah's Witness. I was really involved in it,
If Sadie Katz is going to be a Jehovah's Witness, you're going to be the most well-known of all of the Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah, I had done a lot. I was very active as a pioneer and stuff. So, like, I knew a lot of people, but even then, let's say you don't know a lot of young people. Maybe you know a couple hundred. You're picking your husband out of that. And, like, so this was, like, everybody. And guys are hitting up on me, and like, this is so crazy. And I didn't even think about, like, oh, here's my son. I would be like, oh, I don't have a babysitter tonight. Someone's inviting me to a really fancy meal in Beverly Hills, and they're like, you can bring him, and I'm just there with like a diaper bag. I was very, like, there was an innocence to me that I'll never get back. That I had, that was like very sweet. There wasn't like not that I was innocent at all. It was a freaking, what happens when you hold a spring and then you let a spring go is it bounces around and goes crazy. So I wanted to do everything. Thank God I had my son, because he held me
grounded.
back. Yeah. I was like, okay, I can't run around and like do some crazy drugs or something because I have to be like I'm my son's only person.
Yeah, you're being mom.
Yeah. So thank God, or I would have probably have been like, I don't know, really crazy.
So why moving 19 times?
You know what? Some of them, like, it was, if I went through real fast, it was like, there was, like, the first time I moved, I lost a roommate. Well, the first move, I lived in Orange County. Then I decided, my acting teacher at the Victory Theater said, Sadie, you need to move to LA if you're going to pursue acting. You've got the chops and, you know, do it. And I was like, but what about my son? And he's like, him and his wife, Maria and Tom Ormany and Maria Gobetti, were like, just go for it. So I moved. And then after that, I got a roommate, my friend Michael, from Craigslist. So I went from not like able to be alone with someone to moving in a guy I don't know on Craigslist who ended up, I'm still friends with him and his wife, which is amazing. And, but then he got in like a fight about cable with the landlord. So then we had to move. Then we lived in North Hollywood. Then I didn't like the school district. I wanted Griffin to go to like a cool school district. So then I moved and then they gave away the back house. And then I fell in love with someone, moved in with him. That didn't work out. Then moved someplace else, and then met somebody else like a year later. And
like this whole time you're pursuing acting,
yes,
while waitressing, raising a son.
I'm doing, the waitressing was like, you know, I also worked for Glenn A. Larson.
I don't know who this is.
So I ended up being a personal assistant for Glenn A. Larson, who's like one of the biggest 80s television producers of all time.
Oh.
He did Battlestar Galactica, Knight Rider, Magnum P.I., Manimal. Like his thing goes on and on and on. And I dated his son, who I met at the rock thing. He was in one of the rock bands. And he said, my dad needs a personal assistant and we're to go on this trip to Atlantic City. And the guy I was dating, who I wasn't serious about, who I hadn't even really hooked up with, was like, you should be the personal assistant, then you could come on this trip with me. And they were going to pay me, so I went. And Glenn, he passed away, was one of the funniest, craziest, insane, he was like Arthur, if you've ever seen Arthur.
Yeah.
Just dripped with charisma, and he had so many stories, and he gave me a script on the flight and said, read this, tell me what you think. Well, he didn't realize that I had been really involved in script analysis from school and stuff. So I read this script, and because I didn't know to be intimidated by Glenn, I was like, well, you know, you should do this, this, and this, and gave him what I thought. And then he was like, okay, well, you rewrite this scene. And of course, I was like a young blonde-haired, blue-eyed guy. He's 70 years old, in late 60s. And so I ended up being his personal assistant and you know, rewriting stuff for, you know, weighing in. And then we actually wrote a pilot together, like a sizzle, or not a sizzle. We used to do treatments to sell series. And when I was 25, I went and pitched that with him to the head of ABC, NBC, CBS, and it didn't sell. It's called Rules of Engagement, so they stole my title, which you could do.
Oh, Hollywood.
Yeah, so, I mean, I was a personal assistant for a couple of years, and then I ended up writing something with Mark Jones, who is the creator of Leprechaun, who is best friends with Glenn. And we started writing together. We wrote a couple scripts together. One we sold, Scorned, with Anna Lynn McCord and Billy Zane. So everything, honestly, was like, it's, you know, when you get older and you look back and you're like, oh, that domino fell, and that domino fell, and it just kept falling.
Like at the time, you didn't realize it.
No,
you were just, like,
I was
living your
always
life.
panicked. I'm a single mom. I'm just running around like, you know, wanting everything to be perfect for my son and wanting things to be great. And so, you know, everything was like a lot of like 3-year relationships, and then it wouldn't go well. But I wanted a dad for my son, and, you know, but everything was like a chicken with my head cut off.
Now, did you like being a personal assistant? Because I did that very briefly and had a horrible experience.
Glenn was amazing, though.
Yeah.
Who did you do
I can't mention who it was, but it's a female actress who used to be on a TV show, and I came into her life when she had to like drastically downsize because her income fell, and she was just so full of herself and very difficult to be around. And like I will never forget this. She would get so angry because of LA traffic, and she would like hold it against me, and I was like, here's the thing, you want me to like pick up a single thing of vitamins at Whole Foods here, and then you want me to go and pick up like one chicken breast at Trader Joe's here because it's going to save you like $1.40 because it's cheaper there, but like it's a 30-minute drive time by the time you park. And there's like, if you guys don't know, Whole Foods is a very popular healthy food place, and there's like that one that's like literally in West Hollywood, but like trying to get in and out of that parking lot is sometimes a 30-minute task, and there's nothing you can do because like as you go in, you can't move forward, and now there's like 4 cars behind you, so you're literally just waiting until they direct someone on where else to park, and it's just going to take however long it is. And you like once there's no way to really know like, is it going to be fast or is it not, because you just have to go into the parking lot and there's nowhere else to park. So I'm like, she would get so mad, like, oh, I'm paying you. I was like, yeah, I'm aware, but like, what do you want me to do? Like, I don't want to be sitting in traffic any more than you want to be paying me to sit in traffic.
I had a really awesome job.
You're so
like,
lucky.
I had an awesome, I brought Griffin to school when he was, to the job with me, because Glenn has a ton of kids, and he was like, there was always people at the house, and Griffin would like crawl on him while he was writing, because he was writing Knight Rider, which he sold to Harvey Weinstein, but he was rewriting the movie. So that's why you haven't seen the new Knight Rider movie yet, because the Weinstein's on the right. But I got to write, and like Glenn was a heavy red wine drinker, so like a lot of my job was like Friday lunch, drive him to Beverly Hills to Mr. Chow's, and and like drink, and Glenn would be like, have a drink. I'm like, I'm driving your Cadillac home, like. And so I mean, my job was, I got really lucky. Like, I got a lot of lucky things that happened. One of the reasons was I was also super open to stuff, and I think people were like, this girl's a single mom, and and I was fun, and then when I outgrew that, where he had a girlfriend that I ended up marrying that didn't like me around, I didn't get to do all the cool stuff. And I mean, my whole period of working with Glenn is a movie unto itself. I mean, there was so much crazy stuff that happened. So I feel like I've had like 9 lives, but I have, like, I literally have like I'm like, oh, that was that section. That was Woodland Hills. And then I moved for a little while, like to Long Beach. I fell in love with this guy who owned a barbershop I was totally in love with. And he had, like, right when we moved in together, he had an accident, and some kid ran out in front of him, and he hit the kid, and the kid died. Yeah. So then I had to move again. Like, all the moves were like extreme, crazy, like, man, how did this even happen? It wasn't his fault or anything. It was very sad.
Accidents.
Yeah. It was really upsetting. And then, so we moved out of Long Beach, and we had a little thing, and then we got back together, and then that didn't work out. And then,
And you're still writing and pursuing acting during this time? Okay.
Yes. So at the time, I'm doing student films. So I'm doing it like the old school way. So I started off in LA, the train. I started off in LA with like the very beginning. When you come to LA, you have your Thomas guide, and you have your headshots, and you get your Backstage West, and you circle your auditions, you stuff envelopes, and then you get like A5 in your Thomas guide, and you're like, and I also modeled, I forgot. So I got discovered at this party and ended up modeling for a year for L'Oreal on contract. That's right. And so I only had to work like one day a month. Like, I just have random
That's so.
shit.
So what?
I forgot.
Where was? Can I see? Do you have photos from L'Oreal?
Yes. Oh my
Okay,
God.
you'll have to send them
yes.
to me so I can
Wait
insert
till you
them
see
here.
I was a Matrix chick, and well, you'll have to see them to understand them. But I will get you the pictures and put them on here. But yeah, I got that job randomly. I'm at a party, and this guy goes, "Are you this?" I was very drunk, and he said, "Are you this fun in real life? Like when you're not hammered?" And I'm 24. You know, I'm like, "Yeah, of course." Like, yeah. So a couple weeks later, and this is right after I stopped being a Jehovah's Witness, so that was like my first gig or whatever. And I all of a sudden get a phone call, and they're like, this manager's trying to get a hold of you. Okay, so I pick up the phone, and he says, if you can get to San Diego, there's a girl who looks like you, but she's like 5'11", 5'7", but she broke her nose. So if you can get to San Diego in the next like 5 hours, and I'd never dyed my hair before. Too, they needed someone with virgin hair to bleach out. And so I got to San Diego in some rusty car and walked in, and I had really high heels on, and the manager kind of wedged me into getting the job because the other two girls were like not the right fit. So I got the job and got to like fly around the L'Oreal and do her shows.
That is so so random and so fun.
I know.
Okay, so now you're modeling and you're acting and you're writing. So
and I'm blogging because you got to remember it's like 2005 or something.
Yeah.
I've got a blog. I'm doing like Young Hollywood blogging for love. So I'm doing that. I wrote for Corpsey and Girls and Corpses,
Okay.
which is really funny because we met at Kinko's while I was stuffing those envelopes. So everything. I just was really open to saying yes to everything, which sometimes was really bad, but sometimes I was great. Yeah. And then I finally, I wasn't doing any nudity or anything, and I finally decided, some advice, because it's when all actresses weren't doing nudity, to do nudity, because it was really hard to get an audition, because we had moved to the computerized auditions. And I really wanted to do film. I didn't want to do TV. And it's raining.
It is raining, so sorry if there's sound issues, guys.
Yeah. And so when I said, okay, I'll do nudity, when I clicked that little box on the computer for submissions that I would do nudity, I finally got like an audition to be the lead in a film, this great, which I loved, romantic dark comedy called Nipples and Palm Trees. And so I got that film, which ended up having a very limited theatrical, and it was in the top 100 on iTunes for a year because of the title, but it's actually a good film. And then my first horror film. So right when I did that, then I did this other film that they never ended up releasing. That I can't remember
the title of.
Yeah. And I was exhausted. I was like literally spent from doing this film. And I get this audition for House of Bad, which is the very first horror film I ever did, directed by Jim Towns and produced by Scott Frizzell and Dorota. And I almost didn't go to the audition. In fact, I called Jim and I said, I'm exhausted. I just did 2 films in a row. Like, I can't, like, I don't know if I can even, like, stand up. I can't make it to the audition today. And he said, well, come tomorrow. And I was auditioning to be the bad, like, one of the bad sister. There's 3 sisters that go to the cabin and they're hiding. They stole drug money. So I go to the audition the next day, and I ended up getting the film. And then halfway, I wasn't supposed to be as important as a sister as Syra in House of Bad. But after 3 days of filming, they were like, you're kind of our lead. We're going to rewrite the end. And, that's like a cool thing. So that was like when I knew, like, all the nervous energy I had and all the, like, fear that I had before auditions, because everything meant so much to me that I would throw up before my auditions and everything. I wanted it so bad. I didn't want to be famous. I wanted to act. So I realized if I could just go into auditions and fake that I was confident, then the second I'm supposed to cry or be emotional, that's a piece of cake because I'm holding it in. So they would go like, how the hell did you do that so fast? And it's like, because I'm scared out of my mind right now. So that's kind of why horror, you know, I did House of Bad. House of Bad did really well. And there was like already a little horror fan base. And you know how loyal
They're
they can
amazing.
be. Yeah.
Is a House of Bad still available to watch somewhere?
It is. It's on Amazon. And I think it's
I'll link it below.
free. Yeah, there's Amazon and probably Vudu. And yeah, it continues to do really well.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, and at this time, are you still writing as well, even though, you know, the acting is kind of appearing to take central focus?
Yeah, you know what? I think it's hard sometimes when you're like acting to write, but I was always writing something. I want to say so. Mark Jones and I, after we did so then Mark and I decided to write Scorned, like in between everything. We had written one script called Before Christmas that didn't sell because it was really racy, based on a true story. And then when we wrote Scorned, it took like 3 years to sell. That's right. I wrote it for me to be the lead. It's just a small little, he wanted to help me write a film that I would get to have a break. So we named the character Sadie. It's like misery for younger people. And her boyfriend cheats on her with her best friend. And so she lures them to this lake house and tortures them and gets away with it. Sorry. Oh, spoiler alert. Yeah.
It's okay. If you watch this channel, you know that we always have spoilers.
Right. Sorry. But you should still watch it because Anna Lynn McCord does a good job. And Viva Bianca from, I think, Game of Thrones, like early season. But what happened was we sold it to Anchor Bay for like $2.5 million, the budget. And they didn't even let me audition. But what's interesting is a lot of the craziness of my character from Scorned that I wanted to play, that I was really familiar with, was kind of like Sally in Wrong Turn 6. So, and Wrong Turn 6 ended up being a much bigger film than Scorned because it was part of this franchise. So it's weird how things, happen.
Absolutely. Well, and even still, I would think that landing a $2.5 million movie that's being produced by Anchor Bay had to have helped your writing career. Like,
yeah, but you know what? Here's the crazy thing, and I hate to say this, but especially when you're a young girl, when you have a writing partner that's a man who's already established in the industry, or even if he's not, even if he's just, the last film I just did, I wrote with a man, and I'm going to not say this diplomatically. What happens is no one thinks you actually wrote it.
Yeah, people just assume that the man did it, or give him more credit, or like top billing.
Yeah.
As opposed to being like, it was a joint effort, or...
And Mark and I had a huge, he says this differently. I went to Portsmouth, Ohio to watch it get filmed. I had a small cameo at the end that's actually really fun. And when I got there, the front page of the script was missing. And I was like, where's the freaking front page of the script? Because that's where I would have been credited. And a lot of people there were like, you wrote this? I was like, yeah, I'm the co-writer. And so that's why Mark's a very good friend of mine, and he says that I took it too seriously. He said, she said, and he's still my friend to this day, but I did my cameo and got my ass back on the plane and was like, peace.
Well, it's hard whenever you slave away at something and then you don't see the credit after, it's a labor of love.
We ended up making peace with it. I got Writers Guild, which was amazing. And he did have the means to, like, I couldn't have written that script and sold it to Anchor Bay because they wanted him as the director. And so there was some of that.
Oh, he directed it too?
Yeah.
Okay. And they still couldn't get you a audition? Hollywood.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I think everyone got stars in their eyes. And so I think I got to do an audition tape that I don't think anyone ever saw. But, it's funny because that almost made me more insistent of I don't need your help. And then at the same time, I had just started dating someone else and I moved into like this amazing, like $11 million mansion. That wasn't why we dated, but I'm sure a lot of people thought that. And so right at that time, my 2 films come out, Nipples and Palm Trees and House of Bad, and they both do well in their relative small world. And then I do a Skinamax movie because I didn't know that those other films were going to come out, and I was like,
well, let's be honest, we never know when the movies are going to come out.
No,
I always think
it's
it's a miracle when one gets finished.
It was like 3 years after House of Bad, and Nipples and Palm Trees didn't take as long, but I had done Nipples and Palm Trees as a short, and then we got financing for a feature.
And this is back when that actually happened.
Yeah.
That doesn't do that now.
No, even then, I don't think it normally happened, but, and I was also like, so by the time I moved, then Scorned happened, and then I got this movie, Chavez Cage of Glory, with Danny Trejo and Stephen Bauer and Hector H. Rivera, where I play Mexican cage fighter's wife named Gia, which makes sense. And that was like there were billboards. Now, it was low budget. Patrick Kilpatrick's in it as well. There were billboards. So Robert Miano, all over Los Angeles. I was not on them, but my name was. I was supposed to be on it, but they ended up having these other names. But I drove through, and I would drive from Hollywood Hills and drive my son to Manhattan Beach School because I wanted him to stay in the same school since I kept moving so much. And I would see like 15 billboards and on the bus and on the bus sign. So, I mean, like cool stuff like that happened that really shouldn't have happened. It just shouldn't have happened, but it did. Yeah, it was cool. So everything was kind of like, then I did something really bright and hired a publicist, which you and I have talked about. Like, I was like, forget about an agent. Like, agents, I'm submitting myself for 4 hours a day, just clicking on every casting site, doing it on my own. But I hired a publicist, October Coast, Clint at October Coast, and he started getting my name on Google. And that's the big trick, is when someone looks you up on Google. Like, I'm going to be the most famous Sadie Katz in the world, not because I wanted to be famous, but because I wanted to work. So at first it was like Sadie Katz Deli. They had all of it. It was like 7 pages back. And I remember, checking it and like trying to figure out how I get Getty images and how I get my picture on there. And, and slowly I moved up to the first Google page search. And then I was like, wow. But that's all like, like literally Googling how to do something, and a lot of work. Just a lot of work. Like, Dylan was my director, Dylan Reynolds, for Nipples and Palm Trees. And when the movie came out and it was getting through Cinema Epoch.
We don't like them here on this channel.
So I won't go. So Cinema Epoch, but they were doing we were gonna have it at the theater, and I was like, we gotta have a big party, like a big premiere. And this was kind of when everyone wasn't doing that as much. Like, this was like 15 years ago. You didn't do every movie, didn't do a step and repeat, but I convinced them to do it. I set it all up. We had a huge after party, bands playing and everything, and we split the after party with Daryl Hannah. But I had literally been giving out postcards with my son, Nipples and Palm Trees. We're handing out postcards like, I'm a star of the film. Like, besides Matthew James is the real star, the male star. I'm the female lead. Saying, come to my film, Nipples and Palm Trees. It's really great. It's sexy, fun, but it's actually a really great film. And so that did really well for me because I met a lot of people. And that's then when I realized, like, when I'm in a film, like, it's all about me supporting it. And that was the thing with House of Bad. The other girls didn't want to do any PR for it. So I did the PR.
Well, but you as somebody who's worked with a lot of people, it's tricky because like not so many indie actors don't get it, in my humble opinion. So it's not even so much that they don't want to, that they just don't understand that they have to. And I'll often say, they're like, do you think Jennifer Lawrence is tweeting? And I was like, no, but I think she has the money that she can pay someone else to do it for her.
Right.
And also, like, once you're a household name, you have a little bit more leeway where you can say, I'm not going to do this, or I am going to do this. Because you're already bringing, like, $3 million in foreign sales to the table. So people will hire you because of that. But, like, if you don't, it, like, really takes a village to make a movie. And the more people that are on board promoting and marketing and pushing it, the better. And a rising tide lifts all ships.
That's so, you know what's funny is I always say, especially with, you know, screen queens or indie film actresses, you're your own small business. Mm-hmm. So you're promoting, you're also managing, like, what does my business look like? Like, what's the image of my business? You know, you're doing everything, and you have to put money back into it. And it's difficult. Like, you're awesome at social media. Like, you're great at that. And I know how much time that takes. It's a daily thing, and it's not just taking selfies. It's, you know, finding content that's interesting so you don't look like a dick, because who wants to cast a girl who's only doing selfies or who's only in bikini shots? Like, you're like, oh, I don't really like this person, so she's not likable. And yeah, it's a really weird thing. I mean, that's where Wrong Turn did help me, because when I got Wrong Turn, I didn't realize in other countries, especially what a big film it is, my Facebook, my friends thing went, I was like watching my phone going, oh my God, dude, this is 20th Century Fox film. And so I was adding everyone. I spent like a week adding people.
What did the audition look like for it, before we forget? Because I want to...
Oh, you know what? It was undercover. They didn't say what film it was. But something also kind of cool happened. I got my friend Leland, who I had done like a Playboy series. So there was like no sex, but there was... you know, obviously nudity. Wrong Turn has a ton of nudity, simulated sex. Oh, yeah. And they need someone who's really comfortable, because you're going to Bulgaria. You're going to film in front of like 100 people, and the movie's gnarly. You're playing an incestuous cannibal. Well, he happened to call me up and say, Sadie, there's something... This film is actually a really good film, and they're going non-union because you have to go to Bulgaria, but it's 20th Century Fox, and I'm not allowed to say it, but he said, you know, it's Wrong Turn. I didn't even know what Wrong Turn was. But I asked him, I said, will you write me a letter of recommendation? And then I called up another director, and then I sent it, which I've never done since, sent it to the casting director, Jeff. Oh, why can't I remember his last name? I should. Who's amazing. And so I sent him my 2 letters of recommendation before I even went into audition.
And from people that knew that you did nudity. Because for me, like, that would be so important, because for me, trying to cast nudity, you're always kind of afraid that person's going to change their mind last minute.
And I'm there like 4 weeks.
Or like, heaven forbid, we don't shoot the nudity first for scheduling reasons. If we shoot anything with you and then you decide to change your mind about doing the nudity, that's a problem.
Well, they were like, this is a really well-trained actress. She's not a diva on set. She'll do the nudity. She's comfortable in it. I'm vouching for her. And they knew. So I end up getting 2 letters of recommendation, which is crazy weird that I wanted this part so badly. I knew, like, oh my God, the character has to have a twist. And so I knew, like, oh, this is great. And she's taking over for the 3 baddies in charge of, like, the series. Mm-hmm. So I was really excited. And then the day of, I think I did some coaching to make sure I nailed the audition, because I was such a nervous person. I still am a nervous person. And then I got my hair blown out, like super Southern Belle, and I had hair extensions, and I got my outfit, and like I went in there and was like, got my makeup done, which I normally would never do, but there was 50 blondes in the hallway, and I was like, I'm gonna book this film. I just thought, I'm competitive, but I don't wish for someone to fail. But, you know, I'm like, this is mine. This one I win. And I kind of walked in like, hi, I'm Sally. Like, this is definitely me. And I like nailed the audition. I knew I nailed the audition. They had the 2 producers there, and then I knew the camera guy who was taking the film, and they even had a ring light. They made sure we looked great. And then they asked me for a callback, and I was like, I have to call back. Like, then okay, great. So I got a call back, and then I go in, and they do like a nudity body check, which is really, they say they're looking for tattoos, and they're really seeing that you're gonna be okay.
You're comfortable on set naked, and you look good naked.
Yeah.
Nothing's changed.
So they had like a curtain for me to go behind, and I was just being as loose and as fun, and I'd already cried in the audition and did some crazy stuff, and I just kind of went, oh, that's okay, and threw my dress off and went, you keep your panties on, and went, boom. I said, you guys can hide my cellulite, make me look good, right? And then I was like, listen, I'll do PR, which of course I wouldn't need to, but I was like, I'll promote this film. Like,
I want to cast me.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's actually like, then when I went to Bulgaria, getting that phone call was like really a big deal. I could cry thinking about it because I was going out of the country to film. They had a limo pick me up. I stayed at this really beautiful hotel. There was a lot of, they didn't tell me till the last minute. My poor aunt was on hold of whether or not she was gonna, that would be the longest I was staying away from Griffin. He was in junior high, and it was such a huge deal. And like, he was, I had to sit him down and be like, I got cast in this movie. Now, I know I've done some crazy stuff, but this one's going to be the craziest. And are you cool? And then we watched a couple of Wrong Turns, and I was like, oh my God, this is a gnarly, this is a gnarly movie. The Wrong Turn 1's good, and the other ones are great, but Wrong Turn 6 production value, they put more money into it, and had changed directors. Not that I'm saying anything is wrong with, is his name Declan
O'Brien.
Declan. Okay, sorry, Declan.
I want to say he did. I know he did 5. I auditioned for 5. I didn't get it. They actually aged the character up. Like when I went in.
Oh.
Well, it doesn't make any sense. Like when I originally went in, it was, and keep in mind, like this is years ago, so I'd even say like I wasn't really going out for 30s at the time,
right.
And she was supposed to be like the small town sheriff, which also I was like 30s is probably
you're talking. Yeah, would have been good for that.
Well, but then they ended up like going out again after I did the first round of auditions, and then they ended up trying to cast her in her 40s, which made sense because you're like, how can you be like a small town female sheriff when you're 30? Like
5 is gnarly.
Yeah,
the ending of 5, you're like,
I think I like 4. I love 4. 4 is amazing.
4 is really good.
And the second, obviously, I love Jill Lynch and Matthew Curry-Home. They're all freaking great. So Wrong Turn 2 is special to me.
It helps everyone. Like, I mean, that was the one thing of why it was so exciting. Is like, I mean, you're like, oh, I'm walking around at Wrong Turn 6, but the thing was, everyone who'd done these movies had continued acting just about. Mm-hmm. So it was like that's why it was important to me, because I was at the time like, I just need a bigger win, and also the confidence of like being on that set. But honestly, I've ran into so many people where I'm like, oh, did you audition for Wrong Turn 6? Like that was like the film everyone was auditioning for, because you don't get a lot of non-union.
I didn't do Wrong Turn 6. I literally only did for 5. But yeah, no. But I can't imagine a better person for the role. So,
well, thank you. I mean, it just was something. The character was very similar to what I had written in Scorned. So that, I had like a vendetta. Like, I'm gonna get this film and be like, okay.
But it's nice when you feel like, at least being part of such an established franchise, you also know too that your work is going to get shown. I don't know about you, but it can be so heartbreaking to put your heart and soul on the line for a movie and work your ass off, and then 5 years later accept the fact that nobody will see it.
It did, right? Well, I mean, that happened a little bit with my doc, the Bill Murray Experience. Is Gravitas Ventures, you guys, picked up the film, but the people who bought the film, they switched hands at Gravitas. Like, the month that they bought the film. With Gravitas, like the thing, I was super stoked, like, oh, my film gets picked up. But the thing is, if I'm always screaming, if you're not on the scroll, your movie doesn't exist. Like, it may exist in our little, like, LA horror community, but if you don't get on the scroll of, like, Amazon and you look it up and, like, the horror films that are out, not a lot of people are going to see your movie. And it's a lot of work to do a movie. Even if you're, you know, you're getting paid, you're making money, but your goal is for people to see your work. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like...
But that's everyone's goal is to see it. You know, like
right.
that sound guy will get more work if like 4,000 people see the movie that he did sound on as opposed to 400. And he's going to get more work if 40,000 people see it. And then more work if 400,000 people see it.
Yeah, it's gnarly too because if you don't have that, it's like... you're spinning your wheels. Mm-hmm. You're just going like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing, or, you know, so you're always hoping like, is it on the scroll? And that's I don't think distributors are honest about that.
No.
And they're like, oh, we'll get your film out there. Well, you know, there's a ton of films. So, you know, there's only so much Facebook. They're like, oh, buy Facebook ads. Like, how many times have you seen a Facebook ad and gone, stop,
right?
I gotta look up that film. And so, I mean, you know, that's why you do a lot of promoting, mm-hmm. so people know the film's out there. You're hoping when they see it on the scroll, they click on it, or they've just heard you enough that they're like, oh, I'm bored and I want to watch a film and I should check out this film. And Jessica Cameron or, you know, Sadie Katz, like you're hoping that. But it is maddening. It is.
It's so maddening. And we need more like open and honest communication about like what works and what doesn't. I feel like so many times filmmakers are, and even like actors too, are like nobody wants to say anything bad. And I'm like, there's a difference between saying an honest experience and then maliciously attacking someone. So I can tell you like, you know, that, hey, look, my film was signed over with this company and these are the things that I don't feel like they did well. And that's not something that should be held against me as far as looking bad. It should be open communication.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to call them names. I'm not going to act like a child or be unprofessional. But if I say, you know, they said that they would sell it in these territories, they were unable to sell it in these territories, the communication wasn't clear and concise. That's all just professional, you know, business stuff. Like if I was a real estate agent and I was discussing a title company who was acting the same way, that shouldn't look bad on me. And I feel like oftentimes as women especially, people always want us to be like the catty or the bitchy one. And you're like, no, this is just my realistic experience. Right. And I'm hopeful that at least my bad experience could save somebody else's time. You know, and time is really, I'm always saying this, I believe it's our most valuable asset. It's the only thing we can't buy more of. People sometimes, especially in Hollywood, think it's money. It's not. We can all get money. You can get another job, you can get a gig, whatever, but we can't buy more time. Yeah, we only have X amount of time in our day on this planet, and we don't know how much that's going to be. So using it wisely, to me, is what I try to do and encourage others to do, which is where like an open communication is crucial. But before we get too far, I do want to go back to Wrong Turn 6, because for those of you who don't know, Wrong Turn 6 shot in Bulgaria, right? So if you guys are not familiar with independent films, Bulgarian crews are known to be very large because they're paying a low day rate, and they're not always the people that are the most experienced. It's like people that have 2 hands, 2 feet, and in theory they're capable.
Who, like your you know, your DP is great.
Of course,
we have dolly
people
cranes,
you bring
we
in,
have everything.
absolutely.
But like, there's 100 crew members.
Yeah,
you're right. So I mean,
not all of them are people that like this was like their passion. They happen to be like, you know. So one of the things that's so funny. So before Wrong Turn, a friend of mine who I won't mention because I don't want to throw him under the bus, but he said like he had the hardest time with the art departments because they don't understand legalities.
Him too. Oh, interesting.
He caught it though first, because like, so America, we have very specific laws, right? And we have specific laws to prevent people's image, photo, likeness from being utilized if they haven't signed away those rights. But in places like Bulgaria, this is a foreign concept to them because they don't have those same laws. So you really need to like kind of babysit them in that regard to make sure that they're following the American rules. So what happened with Wrong Turn 6, there's a missing persons board. Yeah. And somebody in the art department told somebody else, who I'm sure told someone else, who probably told someone else, like, get us missing person pictures, and did not clarify, or at least not enough, that they should be not utilizing real missing persons. So this person went online, basically Googled missing persons pictures, and then printed them out, and it made it onto the wall in the movie, which is all kinds of illegal, because, like, you don't have permission to use their images, not to mention morally unethical, because these are
It's a real missing person. Yeah.
And I believe it was a grandmother.
It's a grandmother who looked like a man because of the way they did the picture. Or maybe it was vice versa. It was a man who looked like a woman in the picture for, because it's all fuzzy. Yeah. Well, and you got to remember, the producer speaks English. The crew is Bulgarian, so they took it very literal about the missing person. Mm-hmm. So yeah, the family finds out, and not only that, they also find their missing relative, and the person's dead. So it's now really sad.
It's so sad.
It's so sad. So the movie. Now, this is wild. The movie, there's only been 3 movies ever that were banned and yanked off the shelf. This is one of them. The movie comes out. 2 weeks later, they're like...
And it wasn't found out during the theatrical run. It was found out, like, upon the DVD release, right? Yeah. So it's, like, everywhere on the shelf. So, by the way, like, if you, for those of you who are not movie savvy,
Target,
millions upon millions of dollars have been spent to not only make these copies, but then ship them, get them on the shelves. Like, this is a
Walmart, everything.
And it's so expensive to do this.
Now, the family ends up being actually a really nice family. Instead of suing... Like, these are obviously really good people. I think they were German. Instead of suing 20th Century Fox, they make a deal that they'll yank all the movies off the shelf. So imagine, my movie comes out. I'm like, oh my gosh, great. I'm getting good reviews, and for the most part, from these magazines and everything. And then they're like, we're yanking all your movies off the shelf. And, like, I'm thinking it's not going to, okay, that's it. Like, I'm sort of crying about it, but also, like, well, it's a banned film. There's something interesting. But then they go back in, fix the movie, blur out. So if you watch the movie, you'll know if you're watching an old version or a new version. You'll see that the new version, any pictures in the background are fuzzed out. I will say something else about the pictures. A very odd moment when I'm filming. I'm supposed to have been, like, more incestuous. So through the years, everyone looked like me. So we have this wall of family photos. And I'm in this huge, it's practically like a palace. It's just gigantic. And this is where we're supposed to be living. The Hillikers live. And I'm looking at it's a resort. And I'm looking at the wall. And I start looking at the picture, and I'm like, that woman in, like, a 1900s outfit, that's me, that's my face, and that's my face from my graduation photo, and that's my face from this photo. So they just went on, like, my Facebook and my MySpace and took the pictures, and, like, the props, like, got it done. I wasn't upset about it, but I was like, oh my God. Like, but, like, these are pictures from my life.
But also, like, technically, if it was done by a professional photographer, the professional photographer could sue them. Like,
sure.
There's, like, there is, in America, there are.
So now all of the pictures, if you look in the background, they're all blurry, so you can't see their face, which is kind of a cool thing. So it ended up working to my advantage.
The photos of you,
yes,
are blurry.
They just went ahead and went, fuck it.
Yeah, everything's blurred.
Everything's blurred. And what's kind of cool about it is then the first series, if you have Wrong Turn, the first edition, those are collectors, and people bring them to me to sign, and they're like, oh my God, so it's very cool. So 20th Century Fox was genius, because they realized, they'll end up making, people who collect this movie will want both. So they put it back on the shelves, and, a lot of people were like, this is the original and this is the new one, and it's kind of
But it
cool.
took them how long to get it back on the shelves? Because it was like a multi-month process, right? It wasn't a quick thing.
Maybe it was, God, it's so weird that I don't remember, because it was such a big part of my life, but I was also doing my doc, and I was moving. I was always moving. I think it took a good like 3-4 months.
Yeah.
I mean, there was
Because by the time you like remove something and then make the changes and get it repressed, repackaged, reshipped, like it's a.
Well, they had to decide because they had the lawsuit. So they had to decide that. But I don't think it was that long because they wanted to keep the momentum of Wrong Turn. You know, the people have been talking. I mean, Wrong Turn series is like one of those series that people they kind of love to hate. Like a lot of things, they love to be like, why are they still making these movies? But people are watching them and have like online debates of like what's the best one, and I like 2 or 4, like a lot of franchise movies, and some people were really upset that there was too much sex in Wrong Turn 6. Some people really liked it. That we were supposed to do a 7 because my character, spoiler alert, lives with only one leg and a melted face, but I'm having sex with my brother, and my other brothers are watching, and I'm on a pedestal. And they were supposed to do a 7, but things got, understandably, 20th Century Fox wasn't that happy about what had happened, I think. And
yeah, that would have cost them millions of dollars.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was like a big deal. The film budget was like $5 million in Bulgaria, which is a lot of money in Bulgaria. So the film was a hefty, good-sized budget. But so now they're remaking Wrong Turn and from the beginning, and of course I have nothing to do with it. But I'm excited to watch it because I'm kind of a fan, and like we should watch it together.
Yeah, we'll do like a hot tub horror movie review. I really want to do that anyway. Like if we did one of Joe Lynch's Netflix movies, because I love him, so I want to do Wrong Turn 2 really badly because I do think that he'd get such a kick out of it, and obviously I'm friends with like Matthew Carey Holmes, who's one of the stars, and I just think it's like
you should have them come
walk down. Yeah,
you should have them come and watch it. Yeah. Which, I mean, the movies they're like kind of in their own genre. Wrong Turn led to me getting Blood Feast because Marcel Waltz saw me at Wrong Turn, and he's like, that's Scottish Ishtar, which was crazy. And another, like, the same kind of, like, these are gore porn almost, and just really, really gory, and people, like, cheer in the audience when the kills happen because they're so over the top and kind of original and bloody, which is very odd in a fun way. I mean, like there's something, I understand it now. At first I was like, oh my God. But, it's like special effects and fun. And so, and they're almost like, Wrong Turn has like a cheekiness. I mean, it does. Unabashedly.
And it's almost
horrible.
Like self-aware. That's why I like number 4, because I feel like everyone's very much aware of the camera, and I really appreciate that. I just think it's very cheeky. Yeah, well, I mean, what's weird is, like, they used English actors for ours. Anthony, who's the lead. I know Anthony. I worked with him on The Tombs in London. Oh my God. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Oh, I know a lot of stories about that. Yeah. Well, I would shoot The Tombs maybe a couple, like, years after. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah. Oh my God, that's great. Mm-hmm. And I love him, and we're still friends, and he just did a project with me in Paris. So that's cool. And he brought his girlfriend, yeah. So yeah, isn't that weird? His girlfriend. Met her too. She was also on The Tombs. Oh, she's amazing, right? Yeah. Yeah. So is it like what? Small world. It's super small. Like the film community, whether it's horror, indie, or mainstream, it's pretty small. Like, everyone knows it. You look on your IMDb and you're like, I'm connected with 800 people. Like, how is that possible? So, I mean, there's something kind of fun about that. Once you're in, you're in. Yeah. Oh, completely. It's like herpes. You're not getting rid of it. But traveling for work, obviously, you do it all the time. You mentioned Blood Feast, which you got to shoot in Germany. Yes. Which is so fun. Yeah. With Sophie Monk and Caroline Williams and a bunch of other people. Yeah. So, and it was a remake of a classic film. Yes. So not, obviously not a franchise, but remaking a classic film. Did you feel any responsibility when working on the remake? Were you remotely concerned about being loyal to the original subject matter, or did you even ever see the original? Well, no, I saw the original, and Connie Mason was a Playboy bunny, and she's a beautiful blonde, and I was like, this is great, but I was like, I hope when I show up, like,
everyone's cool, like, here, and everyone called me goddess on set, which was really cool. I cared about the film because I understood that it was kind of like a gift because Herschel Gordon Lewis had said it was okay, and he even had a cameo in the film, so that was like cool. I was like, oh, okay, this is like, Blood Feast started we wouldn't have Saw if it wasn't for Blood Feast. So like, I know you know this. So there was something like really cool if you know Blood Feast, like the remake. And Marcel really wanted he didn't, his English wasn't as good. Like now he speaks perfect English. It's crazy. But we couldn't really communicate. So it was like my second film where I had a Bulgarian director and now I have a German director. So I love working on sets where they don't speak English because there's something fun about that. So everyone spoke English, but it was, not perfect. And when I showed up, Marcel, it's like, here's your wardrobe. And it's just long black hair and like a little chain over my cooch and no top. And I was like, I need nylons. I'm like, I can't just run around here naked. Like, I'm not 20. But he promised me I would look good, and they shot me very well. And we changed some stuff because Robert Ressler's character, originally I was like the mannequin coming to life in Blood Feast. That was the original script. But when I flew there, I was like, so I actually gave up 3 pages of dialogue, which I'm one of the few actresses who will go, yeah, you don't need me to say all this stuff. Like, let's even it out. But I was like, at the end, I was like, I wanted to be Robert Ressler's Id, which would then modernize it. Mm-hmm. Is like he's losing his mind, and I'm like this voice to him. So it did make my character smaller than it was written, but I was also protecting myself from like, me to come in and be like, I'm supposed to be like falling apart, but for me to come in and not say like, from the belly of hell, blah, blah, blah. I was like, I don't think the audience is going to buy that. So it's better if I'm almost like a fairy. And I didn't want to play Sally. I wanted to play another version because this same thing, Ishtar's an oversexed, crazy cannibal, basically. And, or maniac.
I'm noticing a trend in your filmography.
I know. Well, Party Best to Hell was like, I felt that was my trifecta. So that was more of a comedy, and she's oversexed, wants to have sex with everyone and kill them. Like,
but you're the bus driver on that one.
Yes, I'm the bus driver.
Different.
But, yes, and what
also,
happens
I've never had
I'm
a
not
bus
really the
driver
bus
like
driver.
you. No.
Yeah, I'm not really the bus. I killed the bus driver. She's in the trunk. So
that makes so much more sense. I haven't seen Party Bus.
Okay, yeah. It's a really fun movie by Rolf Kaminsky. And with Tara Reid, and she's helped the film get some good distribution, and that was nice. So I mean so then I played another version of that. And then I have fun kind of because I had a crazy childhood because, I've been through a lot. I have fun playing these characters that are just unhinged, and I'm not worried about how I look on camera, and there's something really cool about that. And also something really cool about, like, being sexually dominant in a scene with all these people watching, and you're like, you know what? I'm going to do this, and, like, I'm going to be the least uncomfortable person in the room, which is nice. It's like you get a little power from that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, being the antagonist, you're like, I'm the boss,
Now, before I forget to mention it, I do want to touch on your documentary, The Bill Murray Experience, because first of all, I thought the concept was brilliant.
Thank you.
It's absolutely brilliant. You'll have to tell what it is for our audience, but also going into documentary film when you've been so focused on storytelling and acting in narrative film must have been a challenge.
I think that was the only thing that saved me, because honestly, like, when I first started doing the documentary, the one challenge about the movie is the first act of the documentary, the camera work is horrible, the sound is horrible, and I don't know what I'm doing, but that's kind of the storyline, and it's truthful is I'm like running around looking for Bill Murray, and I'm with my girlfriends, and I'm kind of just spazzing out. And then I had to become a documentarian. But one of the things, you have all this footage that you shoot. And I was convinced if I just stuck to the hero's journey, which I actually was really inspired by my date with Drew, that it wouldn't matter if I had met Bill Murray or I didn't meet Bill Murray. I won't give away, no spoiler alert for that, but he is in the movie. But it wouldn't matter if I met him because it would be about the journey. And that was the one thing that was really difficult to get my EP to understand, because he would see the footage, and I said, like, a documentary is kind of cool because, like, going through and seeing how this cup is made and watching it go through, like, there's something to me. I like docs like that if people are, if they want it enough. And as I did the film, it was like I got more obsessed about I needed to meet Bill Murray, and I also thought I would make like $1 million because my date with Drew made $1 million. So I was like, I'm going to do this film and like have something secure for my son and I. So I really wanted that, and like it got tangled in my head. It was like Bill Murray was going to rescue me from like, bless you,
thank you, coronavirus.
Should we say coronavirus instead of bless you? You like this? Coronavirus. So that it got a little bit weird because the train.
Because of the train?
Because of the train. Because I wanted it so bad and I fantasized about it. And so it was like, if Bill Murray would, if I meet him and it's this way and it's magical, like it's going to be like meeting the unicorn, but it's also going to be like, I'm going to be able to have like a house for my son and I, and like, I was going to be all those things. So then it got also like, so Bill Murray was like a substitute boyfriend, and just seeing like billboards at the time. Bill Murray was, when I came up with this, he was super viral. Like Bill Murray, stealing a French fry off someone's plate.
Right, I was just going to say the French fry.
Amazing.
Which I do believe, like, that had to have happened.
No, it happened a ton of times. It became like, honestly, like, looking back, Bill is more about, like, he's got the fuck it's. He's much more mellow now, if you notice. Mm-hmm. But he's just like drunk and having, like, now I know his family and stuff, and like they're the nicest people. Joel Murray is the nicest people. His other brothers, nice, fun. They like to drink and have a good time. I think Bill just gets bored and he's like, I don't even think it's about the other person. He's not like, you know what, I need to make your day super shiny. No. He's like, I'm going to go mess with this person because I'm bored as hell. And like, it's a spectacle anyway because I'm Bill Murray. So that was something.
And maybe he just really wanted a French fry.
Yeah, I know. That French fry looked good. And he did it because he could. That's so true. So, yeah. That was like a really
I just don't have the balls to do it. But sometimes I walk by and I'm like, damn, I would just love one French fry off that plate.
So I do shit like that. But that's, you either love me or you hate me. And so like I said earlier, I was like, don't tell me if anyone says anything bad about me because I don't want to know because I don't care.
I'm the opposite. I'm like, tell me all of it so that I don't hire them because I don't want that person in my life.
Yeah, I'm like, ignorance is bliss. I would rather be like, everyone likes me, and if you don't, I don't care. I really miss, like, I literally miss doing that doc because there was something like magical about the irreverency of it, and like, what if like I want an adventure again, and there was a bit of an adventure because people would call me up. Oh God, it went on for a couple of years because I stopped it and started it. My friends didn't want to do it anymore. Like, I got very
Everyone says
sick.
that they're going to help you make a movie, and then you go to make the movie.
They got paid.
And you're like, where did you go?
Oh, no, they got paid. They just didn't, like, I was being totally crazy. My relationship was falling apart. I was, like, super intense about Bill Murray. I never would shut up about it. Like, I was going through a lot of stress in my life, so, like, you couldn't have a conversation with me for a good 6 months where I wasn't talking about Bill Murray.
Oh, so the obsession was real.
Yeah. And it was real. Like if you watch the doc, there's a point where I go to bring in balloons on Rock the Casbah, but if you understood how lots of little magical things happened. And my fiance and I broke up over the film, and then we got back together, and then he had to give me money to help me finish the film, and it was like a nightmare. And so my obsession was like, I have to finish this and do what I started, but like, how do I find Bill Murray, and how do I have a story here? And my life was really falling apart, like on a big level. And I had an illness. I got tinnitus, like ringing in my ears, from Wrong Turn, actually, because I took out my earplugs when I shot the gun. They told me not to. And I think that's what.
So it's your fault. Not
the movie's fault.
Because they provided you with the earplugs. If you don't use them.
They said, yeah, and I had blood packs, and we were in this mausoleum type thing. So a few months after, I woke up one day and just heard beep. And that's like Chinese water torture. So it took me a good 9 months of not just being like totally rattled and like telling people on top of I'm looking for Bill Murray, like my ears ringing. So everyone, like, I could be like, even in the doc, I don't blame my friends, but not that they were the greatest of people about things. But I was definitely like having a lot of problems and just like spinning a little bit. My son's also getting older, and I'm moving. I keep getting back.
Keep on moving.
Keep on moving.
All of these moves.
Well, it's like, we sold this mansion that we lived in Manhattan Beach because the house had to sell. So then we moved to Hollywood Hills. That my boyfriend and I are now engaged. Break up. I move in an apartment. He begs for me back. I move back to the apartment because he loves my son. My son loves him. Then we break up again. I move back to the apartment. I get another apartment. And then he begs me to move. And then I say, no, I don't want to live in Hollywood Hills because there's a lot of unsavory people. So we moved to Playa del Rey. Then we're in like a 13,000 square foot house. And I wake up one day and I'm just like, what am I doing? Like, this is like so crazy.
While you're trying to find Bill Murray.
While I'm trying to find Bill Murray. So then I move. I'm back in an apartment. My son and I are going to be happier. Like, this is how is my life like so crazy? And, my son loves moving. So that was the one thing. He was like, I was like, I'm trying to give him this great life. And then I realized all he really needs is his mom to be happy and, and not so crazy. Sorry about that, Griff. Yeah, I never quite got there, but
there's still hope.
There's still hope. No, I'm happy now. And he lives 2 miles away. But yeah, you're just kind of like, part of making a doc is the doc changes a good doc. I've seen tons of docs. The doc, you start off doing a story about, scream queens, and then someone gets in a car accident and you do it about the healthcare that's no good or something crazy. You don't know what the doc ends up being about. It's like I just shot a film in Illinois and it's Fargo Christmas, and they're like, okay, it's always snows. And then it only snowed one of the days and it rained, so we had to get snow machines. And
you're like, it was probably like the first year in how many years
right,
that it didn't snow.
Right.
And when they booked it, they probably were expecting the snowiest seasons of all time.
Yeah. It was still in the snow. And then we had some really cold days, but we also had some days that were like warm and the weather was nice. And you're like, it can rain, or we don't want it to rain as long as it doesn't rain because it's supposed to be snow. It's Fargo.
And then you'd lose all of the snow.
Yeah, but they went and shot parts of it in Fargo to give that. But yeah, it's funny with the independent films because they're really an act of love, but you have to have, the director has to be really cool and flexible, and that way everybody else stays cool. If you have a director who can't keep his head on straight, I'm much more serious if I'm producing or writing or directing. I'm not, it's like everything's got to be good. It's good, it's going to be great, it's going to be great. It's got to be like that because, if not, the set goes into chaos. Same thing if you're an actor, especially if you're the lead. Your attitude spills over to everyone. So if you're tired or you don't know your lines and other people feel it's okay for them not to know their lines.
And that's like the worst. I've really found it's literally a case of one bad apple spoils the whole bunch. That's also where I've been hesitant to, right? And I've been hesitant to fire underperforming career actors in the past, and I've made the choice to go for it if you have to be fired, even if we're friends and you're getting fired, because the ripple effect of having that one toxic person, or again, like that one actor who doesn't know her lines, like it causes such a spiral effect.
If someone's showing up late, then it's like, oh, well, she showed up late, that person's late, or heaven forbid someone, smoke weed on a set, then it's like, what are you doing? I think it's like when you work with who's ever at the top, who's your leads, if they're really nice and cool and on top of it, everybody else follows them. Mm-hmm. It's like a party host.
Yep.
And if you've got someone vomiting all over your party, you're like, thank you, but you gotta go.
Yep, get out.
I don't care how much I love you, but now you just brought out something that you gotta go. Yeah.
So circling back to the Bill Murray experience, it is available for people to watch now.
Yes.
Right? It is on VOD.
It is on VOD. You can get it at all the usual places.
We'll
iTunes,
link it all down below.
Yeah.
And you can
tell me what you think.
Yeah. You can tell me also which links you want to prioritize. Because I know that as filmmakers, we all have preferred links.
I don't on this one because, I just want you to watch it. And I think it's free on Amazon Prime. So absolutely. I would say get it free. I'm probably not going to see any money from it. But at this point, the biggest thing is I want people to see it and share it if they love it. If it speaks to them, Mm-hmm. It does a change in Act 2, and then there's some fun in Act 3, and there's some great animation by Jim Towns in it, and the music is really great. Carrie Joe, the Nick Johnson Band, and the Mornings. It's one of the things I had, all the musicians I knew in my 20s, I called up and asked for free music, which was great.
Amazing. Mm-hmm. Now, what is next for you? You just mentioned you did this movie in Illinois.
Yeah, which is a Christmas movie, so I'm kind of stoked, and it's comedy, and oh geez, I play this girl that owns a restaurant, and Ed Asner's in it, and oh god, Max Caulfield, if you're a Grease 2 fan, he's the lead of Grease 2, and there's some other, there's a lot of great actors. Robert Donovan is in it, if you know Robert, and so that's fun. I'm also doing a play, which is really cool. Which is
so exciting.
I know. I actually got nervous though because I'm with the actor. I'm going to butcher his last name. Ryan. He was Hot Dad in Teachers. If you ever saw it, the series Teachers. Something with a C. I forgot. But we just did a photo shoot, and I was standing with him, and I'm used to being really confident. He's very good looking, and I was like, oh my god, you're making me nervous because it's theater, and it's there's a realness and rawness to it. And I also have my film Megan is coming out that I shot in Italy by Silvio Nacucci, and Randy Wayne is in it, and Greg Travis, and I'm playing another.
This is a cannibal.
This is a dark, a dark sexual revenge movie that's actually it's a thriller. There's a great twist in it. And I'm really proud of that film. And Amityville Harvest, that's coming out. I just did Clown Fear, if you like your movies where you can't see some actors in the dark.
It's dark. It's super dark, guy.
But that's really fun, and Augie Duke is in it. Oh, I love
Augie Duke so much. She's so great.
Why is she so nice? And she's such a good actress. And
the camera loves her.
The camera loves her.
And she's always great. When you see an actress who, regardless of the talent that they're surrounded by, whether it be good or bad, they are always consistently great.
Oh, yes.
She's surrounded by great people. She's standout great. She's surrounded by people that are not as skilled as her. She is still standout great. She's given a great script. She's standout great. She's given a bad script. Somehow she's still standout great.
She kind of does odd choices that make it work. Excuse me. She does coronavirus. She does these weird off the wall things that you go, yeah, I would have never done that. Why didn't I think of that? So yeah, she'll I'm, she's supposed to say I'm going to go to the store, and out of nowhere, because she's such a quirky person anyway, she's like, I'm going to go to the store.
I mean, I don't know if she does that.
Yeah, but she does kind of like funny things where
Weird,
she throws out like a really weird choice, and it gives the character nuance. And
it works because she'll do like consistently things, coronavirus, consistent things which work within the character. So it's not like some random one-off thing that doesn't make sense. It just works so fluidly, and I can't speak highly enough about Augie Duke.
Yeah.
There
you go, Oggs. Yeah, so she's in it, and there's some fun things in the movie.
Now, do you have anything that you're working on writing-wise?
I do, actually. I have, I'm wondering, so I have a film that is like definitely a festival film. I guess I don't want to talk about it. And I'm also working of one thing that, I don't want to give away the title or anything.
But you can pay attention to her social media. She'll promote it whenever the time is right.
And I'm also working, well, I don't want to say that either, so just cut it out. Okay, cut it out. Yeah. So I have those coming out, and I think like doing the play, and I have a couple of projects that are like, I'm waiting, that are going to be a big deal. The Thing That Keeps You, I'm doing in October. I hope it goes through. And I have another film that I'm really excited about. But you know, I always am a little bit hesitant until that film is like in the can.
I'm hesitant until it's come out. Until
I was just gonna say, till it's releasing, and I know, and like I've seen it, and I've seen the cover art and everything. Because so many, if you're that person who's like, I just got cast, and you put it on your social media, I'm like, wow, you just got cast in 10 projects. All 10 of these films are like, you get a kind of a reputation for like none of your projects going. So I keep a lid on it until I know for sure. I don't even believe it until I'm there.
Yeah, well, sometimes also because it's hard to put so much time promoting and marketing it when it could take years or maybe never to get released. Like, I can't tell you, I haven't done it for many years now because I've learned the hard way, but like I try not to until I'm very certain it's going to get finished and released, because there's nothing more disappointing than having the horror fans be like, do you remember that project? That was so cool. What's going on with that? What's going on with that? What's going on?
I have a great film that's getting released that's also by Jim Towns, and I've seen it. It's wonderful. And Jessica Morris is in it.
Oh, she's great.
She's great. Craig Stark is in it. A lot of like really good actors that I love, but it's been kind of waiting on the release, and it's supposed to come out this year. State of Desolation. So that's like a zombie film, but it's done super well.
Do you play a cannibal in it?
I do play a sexed up character with Kai. Kai, how do I say his damn last name? Kai. With Kai, sorry, Kai. He's been in a lot of stuff too. I shouldn't butcher his name. Yeah, I play like I'm a cult leader in the post-apocalyptic. Thank you. What she said. And yeah, we're keeping clean from the virus, which is kind of apropos right now.
Yes, so, very much so.
That film I'm really excited about. It's really great. And what's her face is also in it. I'm so good at this game. Who played in Lolita? I'm sure you know her.
Dominique Swan.
Yeah. So she's in
Who's like, anytime you get like, if there's like a name in like a low budget indie film, it's probably Dominique Swan. Or like in an asylum film, it's probably Dominique Swan. No tea, no shade. I think she's a really talented actress. I think she always has been, so.
Yeah.
Okay, before I let you go, I want to know any tips of advice to fellow women wanting to work as a screenwriter or as a filmmaker, as an actor. If it's different, please feel free to share.
I would say the very biggest thing is get yourself a job that makes you be able to not have to move 19 times and support yourself that you like. So, because one thing that sucks is if you go into an audition and it means everything, or you're having to tape an audition and you need it really badly,
The desperation is felt in the room in a very bad way, typically.
Yeah, and
They don't know what you're desperate for.
and you're not happy. I mean, it's really hard to be broke, and you have to have, it's a small business. You have to have money to put into your business. So it's really difficult if you're like, well, I have the film coming out, and I'm not going to, you know, I don't have money to help promote it, or I don't have a nice dress to wear to get my hair and makeup done. Also, if you're an actor, you have to support your own films. I'm sorry, your social media is part of that. So it shocks me how many actors will not share their projects. They don't want to even be known as an actor on their social media. And I'm like, that's your biggest opportunity you're in people's face every day. You're building relationships. They feel like they know you. And you're hopefully have casting directors, producers that also follow you, who feel like they know you, or you do know. And then you get cast in things, you know. If you're in people's face, it's like your friend that's really cool who's not on social media that you think is great, but you accidentally forget to invite them to the party. You're like, oh my God, I'm sorry, you don't have Facebook, and I invited everyone via Facebook. You want to keep being invited to the party, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so very much for joining us. I'm going to link all of your information down below, so please don't forget to hit the like button down below, and also subscribe to this channel if you haven't. We do a Patreon, so 10 billion bonus points if you want to donate over there, and I will link everything to do with Sadie down below, so please follow, engage, like, share, comment on all of her stuff, do all of the things, and who knows, maybe you'll see her in a hot tub horror movie review in the near future. Bye, guys.